I show 12:59 Eastern Time, so looks like we have about nine folks attached to the webinar at this point. A couple of people that told us they won't be able to make it. I saw a moment ago, looked like Wes may have signed in. I don't know if Wes is on the call or not, but that's pretty extraordinary if he's on the other side of the planet. Wes, are you on the call?
Dan, that was Wes had signed in on my computer at one point, so I had actually a hard time figuring out how to change that back.
All right, we won't give him credit for that then. Gabe, good to see you.
Yep, thanks.
All right, cool. Well, some of you have yourselves muted, it appears. And we do have a chat box on the right-hand side of your control panel where you may feel free to type questions, and we'll do the best we can to pay attention to them. I will tell you, I'm juggling a Google sheet as well as the control panel and a PowerPoint. So if I miss the chat question, feel free to shout out that you have a question as we go along. I'm going to go ahead and show my screen here. There we go. And then I'm going to move this over to show in the full screen, and hopefully everybody will be able to see my screen. So I'm going to just check. Can everybody see the report there? Gabe, you talked to me a minute ago. I'm assuming your mic is working. Can you see the screen okay?
Yep, I sure can.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so I intend today to give a cursory look at the metrics here that we've reported. We have a few things to look at here that that may have created some confusion, and I want to address those with Gabe's help. And then we'll talk about what I see here, see if there are any questions that come from the group, and then we'll move into some action steps and some thoughts that this may bring about for us. So looking forward to spending a little time with you. Hope the weather is good where you are. We've certainly had a fantastic spring, and that's made a difference in business across some of the folks that we work with. So first of all, I want to look at the total of our sales performance here, and you can see in our sales change window on the left, across the last month with our collective group, we have a sales change of 3.3%, an increase. Now, in the graph to the right, that is a discrepancy, I mean, a wide disbursement of increases and some deep decreases, with a lot of you right there at that 1, 2, 3, or 4% decrease. As Gabe and I were talking about this, we have a couple of stores that have opened new doors in the last year, and they're reporting those numbers, but may or may not have loaded in last year's numbers, which may show some pretty meaningful increases, and may have falsely influenced some of these numbers. Gabe, you want to talk a little bit about, I think we had at least one member reporting they've got a store they're reporting and others we're not sure about. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, this comes down to Chris Howe and I have had a discussion a couple of times about how to properly go about this. And I think, it'd be good to get some group feedback on whether or not, we should just know which retailers those are that have those changes. Obviously, I think the only two metrics that this really affects is the sales change and the units change, as pretty much all the other metrics, if you added a store tomorrow, would still be reflected accurately. But for sales change, if you added a store, whether or not that should be included or whether or not we should wait to put that information in. Obviously, the way that we're looking at things now, it kind of creates some issues with how long you would wait to start putting that in. For instance, Chris just opened a store late last year, and I think that's where he's seeing a lot of his increases right now for sales change. And you know, if you were to wait to put those numbers in next year, then he'd have to go in and retroactively fix all of his numbers a year from now to where it would be accurate going forward, or he could just start putting them in right now and see the increases. So I think that's kind of frames up what the discussion should be on how to go about that. And Dan, I think you had a good or possibly a good suggestion there.
Well, I'm just wondering if you have a new store that you don't have any numbers for the previous year, which may falsely inflate your increase. If there is a plan, if you have a sales plan, say for example, February 16, you've created a sales plan for your new store. I wonder if you possibly should consider inputting the sales plan numbers into the 2015 figures so that we have an accurate depiction of whether you're up or down against plan. Don't know if that's a reasonable solution, and perhaps this is something we bring into the conversation when we're in the same room in Louisiana. But I wonder if anyone has a comment on it at this time or a question. So Brenda has commented the Alpine Shop included new store sales info and shaded cells in green. Brenda, would you continue and make a comment about that?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I wasn't sure exactly how you would like to have new store information included. So on our personal worksheet, we did have access to sales information, and I included those and just kind of colored the cells that included the new store info. But a lot of the cost information we still hadn't included because I didn't have the financials back yet. So it's something that could be modified however it works best for the group. If you just wanted true comp information, we could certainly back it out.
Yeah, I think this will probably be done well in our face-to-face conversation as we talk about it in April for our March numbers and see what the impact of that is. That sounds like a good topic. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, not a problem. Whatever works for everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing what you're doing. That's good. That's helpful. Anybody else on that or a question? You know, as you look across the sales performance of the group here, we do have, you know, we have Denali and Trailblazer with a nice increase, and Rock Creek as well with a nice increase, and a lot of us here at a negative increase, a decrease, excuse me, or meaningfully decrease, or just a slight decrease. I'd like to just hear from the group what you saw in February. Looks like there was a really consistent result with a net average of 3.37. Talk to me about how was your sales month, despite what these numbers reflect. So that doesn't sound very good.
Hey, Dan, David from Wild River. Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
For us, we had, just like everyone, really mild, seasonable, very, very warm February. For us, that's great because that means a lot of boat sales. We had done a boat show exclusively related to Hobie product, and that generated some sales too. So for us, it was just a good boat month, where traditionally in February would not be.
Got it. As I looked at the individual categories here, certainly outerwear, was reduced, significantly reduced. Our margin, we had markdowns, of course, in that season. It just kind of came to a halt, as you saw. And in footwear as well, we saw a decrease in footwear, some very meaningful decreases in footwear sales through February. Was that affected by the weather, or did that have something more to do with what we had in inventory or didn't have in inventory?
It's primarily weather for us. February is usually a pretty decent snow month. Even if we normally have a warm October or November, generally speaking, January and February are cold for us. And it wasn't. It was a very warm. We were up by an average of 10 to 15 degrees every day.
Yeah.
So that really tanked what we did for outerwear and footwear. Our other categories are pretty decent, but those particular categories, nothing.
Now here's the bike and ski folks numbers for February. Again, pretty meaningful decreases. Again, a total of 6% of the business, but still some decreases in those categories. Was that true across anybody else in ski or bike?
We were giving away snow hard goods, but we had really good early sales on bike due to the weather.
Brenda, do most of your folks that buy from you, are they headed east to ski or headed out west?
They're going out west.
Yeah, I heard from some folks the east side of the ski business was really in pain this year. Okay. And these are soft good accessories. Margins good, decent. Sales decrease. Up above, our transaction count, dollars per transaction. These numbers, of course, look pretty decent. Payroll is a little higher. Dollars per square foot annualized showed again an increase as we would expect. Looked as if we didn't spend as much money on marketing or outreach. Really not surprised to see what I saw in February. How about anybody else? Does anybody have an observation, a question as to what they saw in the report when it came out for February?
How do you get to that?
I'd like to explore some dynamic conversation as a result of this, and talk about what it might mean for us and what we might consider doing or what these implications might be. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to the news that's out there about the incredible amount of reduction in retail square footage and the number of store closings. I did some research and saw a great number. Of course, there's a pretty major bankruptcy out there in sporting goods, but across a lot of retail, the news seemed to be desperate. And at first glance, some of these numbers that are reported, and I pulled these from a handful of different news articles. Store closings: Office Depot, 400 stores closing. Barnes & Noble, 197 stores closing. Aeropostale, 175. American Eagle, 150. The list goes on and on. And if we, in the specialty outdoor channel, start fearing the reduction in retail interest and the pain points, it can cause us to be really nervous about price point, can cause us to be nervous about margin, and cause us to take some dangerous and unnecessary action. The big picture of these reductions, however, I'd like to put into a different light, because I think some of this reduction is really you could almost see this coming. Office Depot's 400 stores is closing out of 2,200, an 18% reduction. Barnes & Noble's 197 stores are being closed by the year 2023, a 4% reduction over the coming years. Aeropostale, 175 stores out of 860, a 20% reduction. American Eagle, 150 closures out of 929. That does not even count their Aerie division, a 16% reduction. Now, when I attended the shopping center trade show in the year 2000, the talk at that time was that retail, commercial real estate was probably oversaturated by as much as 30%. The general feeling was that there were probably 30% more retail square footage in the U.S. than there needed to be. There had been 55 malls of 1 million square feet or more that had been built from 1995 to 2005. From 2005 to present, only one such mall has been built. The sense of this is that real estate, that retail real estate overexpanded and no longer served the public. And with new opportunities and options online, there was no need for this much space. You could see this as simply a correction. A correction in too much real estate being built and bought for retail, and this is more of a proper, appropriate level of square footage for the number of people that are shopping. The more research I do, the more current research I find, this number still comes out, and this is a number we cannot overlook. 93% of retail sales still take place in brick and mortar. 75% of people may start online, they end up in stores. Now, where we should be concerned, we should be concerned in advice that comes out like this. And I've seen this advice in different forms, in different ways, in lots of different places. Look at Forbes' message. Marketers are going to have to roll up their sleeves and start managing market shares to grow their businesses. Stealing from competitors will be a requirement in the zero-sum economy. In order to do this, identifying and influencing competitors' shoppers will be job number one for success. I can tell you, the retail world is interested in your business. The retail world at large is interested in what we're doing. I watched this happen on the run side about 2 years ago. The run industry was insulated from bad economic factors as runners got really excited about running no matter what was happening. And the run industry grew like crazy, 8, 10, 11, 15% throughout a down economy. Well, suddenly a couple of years ago, everybody from Dick's Sporting Goods to Nike saw the opportunity and began to build specialty run. Run Specialty Group began buying up these businesses, and suddenly everybody was in the run space. As people who wouldn't normally be interested in these businesses started attracting themselves to this business and going after the market share that we already have. That's why you see Prana showing up at Ace Hardware. That's why Yeti is everywhere. Because everybody wants to go after this consumer. They are seen as interesting, spending money, outdoors. This is what the world is leading toward, and therefore everybody wants this customer. So what do we have to do when people are interested in what we're doing? The retail marketplace is shrinking, and we have to do battle to keep our customer. First of all, remember this: customers want engagement with their brands. Customers want to be engaged with the brands that they consider important to them. Now, at first glance, this is very simple. It's very simple because if they communicate to you through your social platforms, you have to respond. If they're calling out to you, you have to write back. You have to respond to them. And so it's important that we are paying attention to what our customers are saying. Honestly, I'm concerned on the outdoor industry side that we don't have enough mobile digital engagement. You know, most of our big brands have some degree of mobile digital involvement. And by that I mean the engagement on the phone. The phone is right in front of them. It's easy to engage in the apps and that first screen now that consumers are going to. You know, everybody from REI to Moose Jaw to the North Face has a compelling, interesting app experience that right now drives consumers in that direction. Customers are looking for that engagement. We have to give them some way to engage with them. And we have to be considering how we do this, because that's what customers want. In fact, we have to engage beyond the sale. And my fear is we're not really telling our compelling and authentic story as well as we could. We have to engage beyond just what happens in the sale. You know, brands like Vans, Harley Davidson, even Starbucks have created some engagement with their brand that goes beyond just making the purchase. How do we engage beyond the sale? How do we create a culture and a tribe of fans who love what we're doing and want to tell our story? Insulating us for price, competition, insulating us from the competitors where they might see our product being available somewhere else. I believe that engaging this has to do with not only what happens in the store and the selling experience there, but I believe that our sales associates also must become some degree of brand ambassador. Are our staff members able to tell our story? Are our staff members able to share the reason why our store exists? Are they engaged? Are they excited? Are they connected? And can they share that with customers? So there's more going on than just the sale. We have some great stories out there. And I think it's important that, that our staff knows how to tell that story and share that with consumers. This one's a big one. The knowledge service deficit is too dangerous to ignore. Most customers today know as much about our products as we do. They've researched it, they've considered what they're thinking about buying, and they come into the store armed with information. Some of the questions that customers ask us, they're asking for our opinion, but some of that is a little bit of a test. Are they dealing with a sales associate that's knowledgeable? Are they dealing with a sales associate that's prepared? Are they dealing with a sales associate that's authentic and actually has some experience to make a recommendation? If our sales associate is less knowledgeable than the customer standing across from them, this is dangerous. If our sales associate is not providing a meaningful service experience and a connection with that customer, this is dangerous. What we know about shoppers is it only takes one negative experience to write us off, and they write us off usually permanently. We're not in a position to let that customer get away from us. We are now in a position where we must be providing a quality service experience and with knowledgeable, prepared, well-trained staff. So we must be constantly focused on product knowledge, constantly focused on connecting that product knowledge to a customer's experience, and constantly thinking about how our service and shopping experience can be better than anyone else's. I fear that we have become a little complacent. I fear that we have not necessarily captured every single opportunity to make sure our staff members are ready and prepared with the questions, with the answers, and with the interest to make a meaningful difference in the lives of the shoppers. These are my thoughts. These are, I think, areas where we have to be focused in the coming year. I'll go back to 2 slides. Consumers want engagement with their brand. You know, we know of a retailer in Washington, D.C., Bicycle Space. Bicycle Space is a 5-year-old bike store in one of the most competitive marketplaces in the country, Washington, D.C. They have a group ride every night, but none of their group rides involve spandex or helmets. All of their rides are social in nature. They have an ice cream ride. They have a plaid ride. They have an art ride. They have a monument ride designed to get people to get out and engage with each other and have a social experience, not focused on riding technology, not focused on performance. They've created a unique brand. They actually last year were number 4 in the country, voted the 4th best retail store in the country in the bike business. And I think we've got to look for those kinds of opportunities that go beyond giving people an opportunity to connect with us. As it relates to the service and knowledge deficit, I think we've got to take in hand the service experience that our staff is offering and their ability to understand each and every product in the store and be an expert on it. This is a difficult challenge, but this is what the rest of the retail world can't do that we can do. We're small, we're nimble, we're quick, we can make decisions. And when your competitors can go into an REI and see that store refreshed and turned over every 4 weeks with new product, the question is, why can't we? We've got to be more quick, more nimble, more fast, and more aggressive in our movement and use of our square footage. And it's important that our staff is engaged and understands that.
That's one thing we don't do. changeover.
Let me stop for a second. I'll take some questions. I'm not looking at my panel over here. Let me see if I've got a question. Okay.
Dan. Hey, Dan.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is John.
Fire away, John.
Oh, those were awesome points. Absolutely. And my question is, what's the best way to train your staff to be able to tell the customer how you exist, or how would that look on the floor when a staff member's on the floor? And what would be an example of how they are connecting with that customer and telling that customer your story and how you exist?
Well, unfortunately, we spend an awful lot of time, and I just advocated for product knowledge, so I'm not saying we reduce that, but we do spend time teaching the technical features of the product. But what we don't always know is our staff doesn't always understand the why of our business. Why have we chosen this business in this place with these people? That's that brand story that we sometimes do a good job in sharing online or sharing in social media, but we also need to give some time to sharing in our team. Almost picture it as a campfire story, John, where you talk about the history, the legacy, the reason why. People need to feel your passion. People need to understand why you're doing this. Why does this matter? And people are dying. I think Salesforce is dying to get engaged with a brand ambassador and an owner that cares deeply about something, so that they can also care deeply about it. And we have to give people these stories. It's a tribal story. It is some degree of emotional connection about what this is and why it matters. And I think we have to touch the very heartstrings of the people that we work with. And I don't know, John, what it would look like exactly, other than I do know, I know it when I see it. I know it when I see it because people are very engaged and connected. I saw it recently over here at Diamond Brand in Asheville, where they were selling, what's the candle? There's a candle manufacturer. There's a girl that is making candles. She used to be an employee of Diamond Brand, and they've got a table display of candles. And I watched as a woman was shopping for candles, and a sales associate walked over to her and said, "Do you know the story of those candles?" And the woman says, "No, I just see there's different aromas." And she goes, "Yeah, this is a great story. This girl used to work for us, and I used to work with her, and blah, 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 blah." I turned in the whole story, and of course, the shopper bought 3 of the candles, walking out not with just candles, but with a cool story. And that may be just one small example where we engage and connect with people at a different level emotionally than just product knowledge. Does that make sense, John?
Yeah.
Are we spending enough time in our staff meetings, not just covering the latest spiff or the latest change in payroll, but are we also talking about why we do this and telling some and sharing some of those stories, our company values and why they are values, our history and why we exist?
Okay, that's really good, Dan. I like all your points, and I know it's a process, and I know it has to come from the owner, and I know that you have to invest in that, and then also you have to have the right people who can absorb that and put that back out. So that's another part of the equation. You
got to hire people that have that can connect with you there emotionally. This is just that big differentiator between the folks that are trying to sell your product. You know, if I can find Yeti or Prana at my Ace Hardware and it's just a question of price, well, then maybe that's what I do because it's convenient because I'm there buying, charcoal. But if I come to your store and I have some real connection to you and some really interesting, compelling reason why this is a place to buy, and the buying local, you don't get entitled to the buy local. You owe it to me to buy from me because I'm local. Unfortunately, those aren't really compelling reasons to a lot of people. There has to be a buying local story that's an emotional connection that creates community, that has me feel like I want to do this. I don't want to buy local because I feel guilted into it. I buy local because it's a better choice. And so that's what buying local looks like. It looks like sales members with a passion and sales members with a story to tell and a connection. Shira?
All right, had to get, can you guys hear me?
I got you, yeah.
Okay, I had to get unmuted. This is maybe more than we can really address today, and maybe something for, you know, in a couple of weeks, but I guess this is two-pronged. As you know, we've been focused a ton on all these different strategic initiatives that we worked on with you and gear training and all of that. And so we've been focusing a great deal on that story and training that story with our staff, and specifically, you know, all the different gear modules, and then also like the greeting and their interaction at the end when they're checking people out. And it's like we're just hitting our head against the wall. I just cannot. I don't know. It's obviously at my failure of training or whatever, but I can't. I don't know what else to do as far as trying to explain to people how they really need to interact with that customer and ask them about the engagement or that kind of stuff. And the second prong part of it is obviously it's about having the right staff, but I don't know if anyone else is seeing this in our community. I don't know if it's just kind of like picking back up, but literally every store has a "we're hiring" and posting, and we've been trying desperately to hire good people, and we're just not getting any applications for anything other than the like professional office positions. So I guess it's a kind of a two-pronged thing. Like when the training is just not resonating, you know, are there other kind of more in-depth methodologies for how to get people to articulate that story, and then other ways to recruit people in a kind of competitive environment for the staff?
Sure, that's a great question. Let me ask and then clarify a couple of things. So you've done a great job of immersing your people in what you believe is and what I believe is the right approach and the right methodology. How would you rate the buy-in? If you were to give it a score of 100% or a 0%, where would you rate the buy-in across the total group of the staff?
I think now, you know, we kind of went through the pain points. I think at the highest levels of the managerial staff and the, you know, strategic team and stuff, we have at this point now, like, very high buy-in, like 95% buy-in, I would say. The floor staff turnover has been enough that they seem to be quite bought into it as well. And we just did the, you know, employee survey, and the results were pretty favorable. I think maybe, Dan, maybe you want to speak to this, but I think we feel pretty good about the response, and we, you know, we'll go through that with people and keep working to improve. But it seems like pretty good engagement.
Okay, very good. Then
Dan Epstein, would you agree with me?
Yeah, I was maybe I'm the pessimist. I was surprised that people were as favorable as they were. So
yeah.
I think we had.
And it was anonymous.
Yeah, there were definitely some areas to work on. There's you know, it wasn't like, you know, there was nothing. There were certainly some things that came through loud and clear, but I expected there to be more.
Okay. So then, on your floor at the executional level, do you feel that while the buy-in is good, are the skills also matching the buy-in? Are you seeing the behaviors that you want to see?
I mean, I think we're seeing the good behaviors on the actual sales floor, and it's just that kind of like checkout piece that's just killing me. And it doesn't matter how many times like people practice, and then every time then I, you know, we keep correcting it and talking about it, and then I walk by and people are like, "Are you on the customer list?" I just don't know what to do. I just, and they could be amazing on the floor, and that's still the interaction that's happening when they go to the final step. You know, it's just.
Yeah, you know, I think some of that, unfortunately, and I don't know how bad it is here, other than you know, the frustration I hear in your voice. You know, if I've had a great experience through steps 1 through 3, but step 4, it seems to be a shrug of the shoulders, and I don't care so much, because I've always said, you know, at the register, the wallet is out. That's the most intimate part of the process. It's like going to a great restaurant, and the meal's fantastic, but you know, when it's time to bring the check, the waiter has forgotten about you and didn't bring the check, and you sit there waiting an extraordinarily length of time to get the check. You can ruin an entire meal with the checkout. You can ruin an entire meal. And I'm not saying that's the problem, but I am making a point that you have to be consistent throughout that process. And I'll be happy to talk with you about this in your specific situation offline, Shira, but it certainly tells us how important it is that we are consistent, and it's important that our staff members follow your prescribed approach consistently in every step of the way, because any one of those steps can break it. I see Holly has a comment, and I'll turn it over. Holly?
Yeah, I would just say about people capturing, getting people on the list. We measure that every day, and we have it as part of our daily reports, our daily memo on sales and any, different KPIs and, what went on in the store that day. Part of that report is percentage of data capture, customer data capture.
So as a percentage of transactions, how many of them captured all of the correct customer info?
Right.
Well, I don't think they're doing it as consistently as we need to have, though. This is Lisa, by the way. Because in one of our management meetings, one store said they were getting addresses and the other said they were getting email addresses. And then a third person said, well, yeah, you can't possibly get all of it. And so we're pretty far from perfect. But it seems to help, if we measure it, at least they're focusing something on it, getting something. I wanted to jump in there. Shira, you sound a little bit, a little down, but I wanted to tell you that I had an opportunity to stop in your store on the way back from a couple days riding my horse in Indiana, and it was a last-minute decision that I had enough time to stop in the store, and I thought the changes you made in the arrangement of your store were just fantastic. It looked so good, and your people were wonderful. And they were excited, and when I said, "Oh my gosh, everything looks so different," well, they jumped right in to tell me about what had been done, and I said, "Do you think it's working?" And they go, "Oh my gosh, we have a real camping department. It's so cool," and they were all really engaged. So,
and it wasn't Gretchen?
No, it was coming. Yeah, and I did see the big Freakers display. I'd assume that had something to do with Gretchen, but yeah. Unfortunately, I was one of like 2 customers in the store, so they were able to, they didn't stop and drop everything and talk to me, but every person greeted me and was friendly even before they knew that I was in the industry. So I haven't had a chance to call you guys and tell you that, but it was really a nice experience.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Thank you. Well, and I guess my deeper question is just like maybe for some future discussion, Dan Man, is or like when we get together in a couple of weeks, is just maybe are there like strategies that people have for how to really dig deeper and train that final kind of register and like finishing the sales step, because like even with Garrett, like we'll do all these different role plays and stuff, but I feel like that's the one where we really need to focus in some serious timing and like kind of dig to the next level of training. And if that's a pain point for most of us, just seems like that would be a good thing to kind of like go through and really dig a little deeper.
I think you're right on the money there, Shira. And my experience has been that we teach somebody something, and I put the word teach into quotes. We teach somebody something believing that means they'll do it. And we walk away from a 15-minute workshop and folks now should have it. They should figure it out. And I just know whether it is teaching someone to properly, have proper running posture, or whether it's somebody teaching someone new eating habits, or whether it's teaching someone exercise protocols, that it is in consistency that we win the day. And I can just give you a quick example from myself, and that is, going through some therapy for a back injury and learning the exercises I'm supposed to do for physical therapy, and coming back 3 days later and demonstrating my exercises, only to have a therapist go, well, that's not the way we want you doing it. Because it's hard to relearn and unlearn what we did learn and relearn it a new way. If I'm used to talking a certain way at the register, or I'm not even aware of how I'm talking, you may show me something and I can go right back to what I've done before, not realizing that I've not changed my behavior. Behavior change in adults is probably the most difficult thing we face. And it sounds like we haven't quite made our way there with every member of your staff, Shooter. Work to do.
So this is Scott, and I'm not sure that we have all of the register experiences that you're trying to go for, but we certainly have certain things that are important to us at the register, and one of them is data capture. And you know, for us, email is more important than an address because it's cheaper for us. So we have a system. Basically, we rate the cashiers and what goes on at the registers based upon whether or not they're engaging the customers in the way we want them to. And if they're not asking the right questions, then they don't earn the points for that week. And the only way that they can earn raises is by earning enough points to be able to qualify for a raise. So we try to make it as objective as possible. And if they're not asking the question regarding the data capture and asking it in the exact way that we want them to, then they don't earn the points for that week.
How do you monitor that?
I love that.
Yeah.
Comment?
It's very successful for us.
How do you monitor that without having somebody standing by the register all day?
Well, you know, one person somebody is constantly coming in or out of the registers. As far as management people, we're always around somewhere, and so it only has to be heard, not done once, and they're going to get docked for it. So it's something that it's easy for us to, even with my big store and limited staff, it's something that's easy for us to be able to monitor.
Holly, you had a comment on staff buy-in.
Well, I got a comment, and I just want to preface what I'm saying by I don't know if we're doing this as well as we should be, but I think you have to have a vision and a mission, and you have to get buy-in when you before you hire someone. That should be one of your primary criteria as to whether this person should be hired or not. And that's about it as far as comment.
Yep, I think that's quality, and I think it does go back to Simon Sinek's book, and it all starts with why.
Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? If no one's willing to do this, that's fine. I mean, this is an area, like, the register is an area we're struggling with, as Shira pointed out. Would someone be willing to take a video of, like, who has a sense of what they do at the register and send it around in the email list? And I understand, but it's something we're really struggling with.
What are the metrics you're trying to do at the register? What are the different key points that you're trying to make sure happen?
I think no matter. Sure. Do you want to go through it? I know you've talked this more. Yeah.
I mean, the managers are great and everything, but right. We launched a whole rewards program in the fall. That's been very successful. We try to capture all kinds of, like, email and addresses and all that kind of stuff, but it's less about, they're pretty good at trying to capture that, but it's like, it doesn't seem to matter how much we talk about the rewards, instead of, like, trying to get the information via that. It's not like our rewards program is super easy. You just have to, like, give us your email and like it's basically like tracking it on your customer card, and then you're getting points back. So it's kind of like how that's getting explained, it's and there's just, I don't know, there's a million things, but
I would say it this way. I think the staff aren't comfortable, and we are struggling trying to figure out how to get them comfortable with that process. And I don't think we've been successful getting them over that hump.
Like Vlad, you got to convince them of that.
Maybe we should have Dan do a role play, because he's the best at role play of everybody in this entire group. Dan.
So why don't we take register training and put it on our agenda for our meeting, and we'll spend some time on what a proper protocol looks like. And Dan and Cheryl, you'll only have one more month of pain. How does that sound?
That sounds good. I mean, is this also a pain point for other people? I mean,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, we find it a problem as well. We don't have a rewards point, but we definitely have troubles with events and getting people to communicate some of that type of information or sales to customers. They feel like they're bothering customers.
Well, you said something there. You said it, and that's the heart of it. You said it's what they believe, and they're not comfortable, and therefore, if they're not comfortable and don't believe if they believe they're bothering customers, training is not going to change that. We can train them; they're not going to want to do it, nor do they believe they should do it. So we have to get to the core of this. Is there a reason why, in the big picture of why we exist, that proper behavior at the register is worthwhile, and that collecting money from a customer professionally is worthwhile, and that our interaction with them measurably serves our company vision? And we have to be able to address that. Leslie?
I heard an interesting.
I'm surprised that Dana has a problem, because she's explained to her staff how the business works, and that's a big part of it.
Yes, but they believe that customers can read, and if there's signs or banners or, we have a large plotter that we print out things on, so they figure that customers automatically know everything from that, which we all know they don't read.
No.
Well,
And
Yeah. I have an opinion. Is it my turn?
yeah, fire away.
Okay, and I'm not, believe me, we struggle with this just as much as what I'm hearing from everybody else. However, my opinion is if you get to the register and you're in the register situation and you ask people if they want to be on a list, they're going to most times say no.
Well, you don't.
That discussion should have started way before that. Like, if somebody's looking at camping gear, our staff should be saying, hey, did you know that we offer trips? Did you know that we have a guest speaker coming in next week? Blah, blah, blah. You should be on our email list. When you get to the register, you just say, oh, don't forget you were going to get on that email list. That's the way to be successful. And even then, we struggle with this just as much as what I'm hearing from everybody else.
Liz, you asked a great question, and that is, in fact, I'll let you go ahead and verbalize it if you don't mind.
Well, since we do a lot of boat sales, you develop that relationship with the customer while you're working, and we don't have just people behind the cash wrap only being a cashier. Everybody rings up sales. So I have found with us it's a little easier once we've started talking to them to capture that email address. When you've been with them for 20, 30, 60 minutes on a sale, you don't feel uncomfortable asking for that kind of information. And then, my go-to has always been, if you lose your receipt, then we have it captured here in the computer in case you wanted to know what size pant you had next year or what have you.
Yeah, my experience in the running industry tells me this, that people who are coming in and specialty run and getting themselves outfitted for a running shoe and deciding to buy a $125 or even these days $180 running shoe, they're making a decision not about spending money. They're making a decision to run. And for some of the people that are buying a running shoe and getting fitted for running shoes and sitting there, you see the most unlikely people getting fitted for running shoes because for them, it's a big decision. The big decision is not the $125 purchase. The big decision is, I'm going to start running tomorrow. And this purchase of this shoe is the first sign that I'm going to be doing that. Now, if that's the transaction that's happening, a commitment to running and a commitment to a lifestyle change, then getting to the register and having that be anything less than enthusiastic, anything less than supportive, is a disappointment to the customer because they just made a life choice. They've just made a big decision, and they'd like actually for someone to recognize that a big moment just happened in their life as they decided to get into shape or to improve their fitness level or lose weight or whatever the reason is for running. And at the register, that's where it becomes real. The wallet's out, the credit card is out, and the transaction's about to take place. This is a decision to run. And if our staff can understand that the person standing in front of them, whether they've bought a hammock or whether they've bought, a tumbler or whether they've bought whatever technical product they're buying, there's a reason why they bought it, and they bought it from us. And our engagement with them has to be the most genuine, supportive, and thankful engagement. And here's the bottom line to Dan and Shira's issue. You got to have people that get that. You can train it, but you got to make sure people want to behave that way. They are genuinely excited in getting the yes and getting the commitment to do it. And that's a hiring issue as well as a training issue, but it certainly starts with the hiring issue.
I don't want to beat the dead horse on this or kind of shift gears on it, but one of the things I'm sensing, and maybe there's feedback from the group, but email is getting harder to deliver effectively with spam filters, and we're getting really successful using Facebook to drive events, especially. I don't know if we're being successful to do it with products, but we've had events 2 nights in a row the last 2 nights, and we had probably over 60 people at each one, and we did not have an email on that. It was all driven completely on Facebook. So does anybody have a way that they encourage people to become fans of their store on Facebook?
You know what, John, let me ask you this. Do you engage with people on Facebook if they respond to you or if they communicate or comment? Do you react, or does someone engage with them once they've reacted and interacted with you?
Oh, absolutely. We stay on top of. You have to stay on top of that. If people make comments and you comment back, you have to stay on top of that.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's important. I think that they're engaging with you. They're expecting you engage back.
But what I'm saying is, we're worried about getting email addresses, but honestly, social media is the way I think people, like a lot of these people, I don't know if they read our email. And I mean, the clicks kind of prove it. It's harder to deliver. People are clicking it less, and social media is working better. I don't know if when people are looking at emails, they're kind of in business mode. It's like delete. But then when they start looking at Facebook, now they're in relaxed mode and they're more looking at what you put out there. So I'm just saying, I'm wondering, and believe me, I'm the one who pushes emails. People make fun of me and our staff because we push it so much, but I'm wondering whether we're starting to beat a dead horse and we need to be shifting to finding strategies to help people follow us on social media as much or more as we put effort into getting people on our email list.
John, I would say that if I send an email to my sons, my 22 and 21-year-old sons, I have to send them a Facebook message to let them know they need to check their email. So I think
it's a multi-pronged approach. I don't think you're going to rely on one more than the other. And with a lot of our email programs that we can utilize on the web, they have a function that will allow you to basically do multiple platforms at the same time. So when I shoot out an email, it also goes out to our Facebook, and I can actually schedule that for either just a single Facebook post, or I can schedule it for several Facebook posts and slightly change the message or the photo each time. So there's lots of I think it's not like either or, it's both and more.
Yeah, I get that, Scott. But how do you have okay? So a kid's in your store and he buys a drone, and how are you getting him on to? Or is there anything you're doing to encourage him to follow you on Facebook? our other social, Instagram or whatever else you do.
I think that's a great suggestion, John. We're not doing it right now. We get most of our Facebook engagement through what we do on Facebook, as well as doing some boosted ads on Facebook. But I think that's a great idea.
We have a store in town, and actually, I mean, I don't know how this speaks to it. They just actually went out of business, unfortunately. It was a kids, local kids store, but I think what worked successfully for them for a long time, as far as like getting Facebook likes, is you can, you know, offer a discount for people if they check in, like in front of you at the register. I mean, John, if you wanted to just try to get more people to go on it, but I mean, I think also, I mean, we do also the multi-prong, you know, approach, because we get pretty good responses to our email, but I'm sure the audience is self-selecting people who want emails, and we get plenty of unsubscribes each time, but lots of new people each time. But you have to do the Facebook, and you have to do the Twitter, and you have to do like Reddit feeds and just all that. And we find that, you know, each one is its own distinct audience, and it's hard to tell which, you know, you just try to maximize each one.
Lisa, I see you've been waiting patiently with an idea. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, you know, I steal ideas from any place I can find them, and I went to Comparison Shop at a competitive bike shop where I got horrible service. But then when I got up to the register, where nobody really spoke to me, they just took my money and rang me out. They didn't ask for my name or anything. I was paying cash because I didn't want to use a card with my name on it. But right there on the counter was a sign that said, like what we do, follow us on our website, our Facebook page, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And it had all of that, and it was taped to the counter. And then there was a little business card with it. You know, instead of, we had the business card with our website address on it and the store manager's name or whatever, but these guys had a business card that had all of those little things on it, you know, the exact name. And so I just talked to our marketing director a few days ago and said, hey, let's do that, and let's put, because we have different pages for our different stores, and every store has a little different flavor, and so we should make a card that has all of the different Facebook pages on it, plus our website, plus, you know, how to get to our events, which are on our website. And I think we're going to do that because, you know, you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, what was the name of that? What do I want to like again? And then you just forget about it and walk away. It would have been even more effective if the guy had said to me, you know, had asked me for my name and had mentioned that if you like what we do, follow us on Facebook. It was such a simple thing, and I just was stunned that I had never thought of it before.
That's a good idea. Very good idea. Yeah.
You can also run one of there's like different Facebook or Twitter, different like contests, like where, like some kind of photo contest. We've done a one that we call Bundled Bambinos in the winter time, where, I mean, everyone loves to show a picture of their kid or their pet. And so then they are busy sharing it to everybody because they want the votes to win the big gift certificate or the prize. And then we find that's our biggest like acquisition when we run one of those. Usually get like 500 more likes or something like that.
I think.
Yeah, I like that. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
Oh, I like that idea, but I like the idea. People who are in my store are definitely my target, more than just general people out on the internet. And that's what I want to make sure is that, you know, the guy that bought a kayak from us, that he's on our email list and he follows us on Facebook. That's huge. And I'm pretty sure there's people who spend $3,000 on a boat in our store and walk out and do not, you know, it's possible they go out and they don't follow us on Facebook and don't follow us on our email.
So it is, this is Leslie. It's 1 till 2, and I know we want to be firm on our time. And but I did want to address or ask the question, is this something else that we want to put on our agenda for our meeting? It sounds like this is a worthwhile topic. And with the notion that it not necessarily, maybe look at what we're doing, but also let's pull out some more innovative companies and look at their approach to gaining a lot of followers, how they're doing it, what's working, and what could work for us. Is that something that's worthwhile?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay.
I would like it.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, listen, thanks for your time today. As always, we'd love to hear feedback, ideas, and suggestions for making our webinars more useful to you. And as we explore this is just our third one. We're open to your suggestions, ideas, things that are working, things that are not. In the meantime, let's finish out March strong, and we'll see you folks down in Louisiana here in April. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan.
Thank you.
Is there? Oh,
go ahead, John.
sorry, are we? Is there any stuff that you need to talk about Lafayette before we hang up?
We're gonna send we'll send an email with the details about Lafayette.
There's quite a bit there, John. I was afraid if we did it on the webinar, we'd have another hour of just getting that detail hammered out.
Yeah, you might. Okay, that sounds perfect.
Move that to we'll move that to email conversation.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
We're looking forward to it. Can you arrange to have good weather, John, if you would?
We're working on it.
Okay, good enough.
Flooded?
What was that, Holly?
I said, did Lafayette get flooded? There were floods down.
No, the waters have receded. You can leave your life jacket at home.
Beautiful. Okay, goodbye, everybody.